show you a method that I found is one of my favorite methods for holding down small parts. Basically what we're going to be doing is taking some spray adhesive and spraying your substrate. And the substrate is best if it's either masked with a some sort of a film. Let's say it's a plexiglass or something of that sort. There is a transfer tape that a lot of the sign guys use that works out a lot really well as also. So I'll show you the steps that I'm using and how I'm doing it. But it works. This method works really well for holding parts. You don't have to have vacuum for it. And the benefit of using the transfer tape, as well as or if the material has a film on it that can be pulled off. Once you're done cutting, you're basically just pulling off just that film or the transfer tape, and you've got a clean surface. So I'll show you what I'm doing here. Okay, so here's my setup. I've got some scrap material that I'm wanting to cut some small letters out in, and this is actually a piece of an acrylic. And if I peel off it's not blue, but the blue is actually the film. So as I peel that off, you can see that there's it's a clear acrylic underneath. Now I'm not going to pull that all the way off at the moment, because I do want to spray some adhesive on here, and then we'll use that for we'll pull that off later. Now the adhesive I'm using is I've tried the Loctite spray adhesive. That's worked fairly well. It's a little cheaper than what the 3M Super 77 is. 3M also makes a product. I believe it's a Super 90. Those two work really well, but they're a little more expensive. Probably another $2 more than what the $2 to $4 more than what the Loctite can was. So we'll be giving those a try. But basically I'm going to spray the substrate here, and then stick it down to my to the desktop. All right, I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to use the Loctite spray adhesive, and we're just going to spray this across the back of what'll be the back of the part. Okay, that should be good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just turn this over. This will be at 0, 0. This corner here will be at 0, 0. I'm going to flip that, and I've actually cut in on my desktop. The spool board actually has a fence line cut into mine that I've done by just once I found my 0, 0 position, I've got a slight fence cut into it, and so I'll show you that. So then once you get it in place, just stick it down. Okay. Oops. Let me stick this a little better here. So I'm going to let that set for just a second, and then we'll get going. Got it stuck down with the adhesive onto my spool board, and now what you'd end up doing, if you haven't already, is actually homing out with the C3 and find the proc switches and go to home position. I still need to do the Z0 routine in order to find where the tip of the bit is. I'm cutting with a 1/8 inch O-flute bit, and one of the other things that I do when cutting this material, you guys can go as aggressively as you'd like, but what I'm doing is actually in the PartWorks software, or the Aspire software, it will allow you to do a profile pass in a ramp move. So I think I'm stepping down in this about a 1/16 of an inch per pass. So this is like a 3/16 material. So it's going to have 3 passes to it. And the idea is you know, if you want to go a little more aggressively with this kind of stuff, do that before you actually cut all the way through. So I tend to go a little more aggressive through, you know, maybe 2/3 of the way through, or leave yourself maybe a good 20 or 30 thousandths before you actually cut through, and let that last little cut through, let that be a nice easy kind of pass on the material. So I'm going to zero out and then we'll get started. Okay, I'm ready to cut the letters out now, so I'm going to start the file here. We'll be cutting at 2 inches a second, and I believe I've got it set for about 13,000 for this particular this cut here. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to be drilling some holes first. I think these are going to be used for Christmas ornaments. So. After cutting the J, I ended up busting the bit, so I've slowed things down a bit. We're running at basically 1 inch a second right now, and we're getting a little bit of buildup on the edge, but in the third pass it actually kind of chips away, and everything looks all right. So anyway, everything's still holding, but we'll let it finish out here, and I'll show you what the end result looks like in just a little bit. Okay, the file has finished, and other than the J that I took out because I busted my bit, anyway, everything else held. I ended up slowing that down to 1 inch a second, and other than just kind of vacuuming out some of the dust there, that is the way it is here. So what I'll do, I'll just take a knife, and I'll just try to pry these out just a little bit, and that, get a corner started. Pop this out. Now, if you guys have a problem with the adhesive building up on the table or whatever, you know, my fix for that is just to resurface your table. Get you a nice surfacing bit and surface that back down to a nice clean edge. And so here's an H. I'll pull this plastic off so you can see what's going on. But basically, all the real trash and gunk from the adhesives on the back of the film, and as I take this off, you know, all that goes with it. So you're left with a nice clean part. 1 second. All right, so there's the back. A little bit of stuff on the back there, but let me set this down for just a second. I'll finish pulling this this masking off. Okay. I turn this around so you can see. This is my H that I finished pulling the acrylic off, or the masking off of, and you can see I got a pretty decent finish here. I think you can see that. But anyway, like I said, if you've got scraps or material that you'd like to be able to use, smaller pieces of, or you've got smaller items to cut, I really like this method, and it's been working out really well for me. And so give it a try. And again, it's just the spray adhesive. This one here was the Loctite. Again, that's a little cheaper than what the 3M products work, but 3M stuff may actually hold a little better than what the Loctite does. But any of this stuff works fairly well. But I'll show you another video later on actually putting on the masking. Got a big roll of masking from one of my sign buddies, and so I'll put that on the back of stuff that doesn't have a film on it. And again, works the same way as the acrylic that has the film already included. So anyway, give it a try and see what you can do with it. All right.